You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends, since forgetting to take off our costume makeup before we're going to Wendy's after a performance, now guides on your nostalgic tour of Disney history, one magical film at a time. I'm JB Waggoner.
And I'm Eddie Ferguson. And on today's episode, we realize we can't go to the ball looking like this as we review Cinderella.
So fasten that safety restraint and pull up on the yellow strap. It's time to open the vault.
Cue that Disney sound effect.
Eddie, we're finally out of the wartime films, outside of the package films. We're back into the happy days of Disney, and man, did we pick a good one to come out of. Or maybe even more apt to say Disney picked a great one to come out of, because this movie is an epic movie for us to cover. How do you want to set this up? How do you want us to begin talking about one of this film, Eddie?
That's the question. I really don't know. Like, there's so many different angles to come at this. I've thought about this. Like, how do you jump into this?
Our wives are hanging on every word right now, making sure we don't screw this up. My wife might have given me a bunch of anecdotes before we came on, just to like make sure that I didn't besmirch her or her favorite film in any way.
I was going to say, you've got more writing on this than I do, so maybe you should start this off.
I'm afraid right now, Eddie, that I'm going to get in trouble somehow. But no, we watched this today, just a few hours ago, several hours earlier this morning, or afternoon, whenever. It doesn't matter. No one cares when we watch this. Anyways, it was awesome to sit there and watch my wife quote this film in a very reminiscent way of you, Eddie, quoting many of the films that we would sit and watch together, and you would sit and quote all the film. My wife was doing that throughout most of this film, having the time of her life. It was great. It was great to just experience that with her, because this really is her favorite film, and there's so many things to love about it.
I didn't know. I'd always thought of Cinderella as like a European fairy tale. And I mean, Disney particularly adapted the French tale or writing of all of this story. But this idea, the overall structure of Cinderella, is actually one of the oldest tales in history. Like it can be found in Greek and Roman mythology.
BC,
it can be found in Chinese. Yeah, I mean it in Egyptian. The basic through line, just kind of the basic plot structure of Cinderella, is one of mankind's oldest stories to fictionalize, which to me is fascinating. And I didn't actually know that until kind of getting ready for all of this, of realizing how this is way more than a European fairy tale, even though that is the particular one that Disney chose to adapt here. This is to quote Beauty and the Beast, a tale as old as time, quite literally. Before that.
I liked the Greek synopsis, the storyline that was the one that preceded it just a little bit. The one that this is based off of is from Charles Perrault in 1967, called Cendrillon. I might be butchering that. But the Greek one, the storyline for that is, she was a young Greek courtesan who attracted the attention of the pharaoh when an eagle flew off with her sandal and dropped it in his lap. He was so intrigued by the shoe and its shape that he searched for the owner. This is from Abilene, Texas government's website, but they had a lot of great stuff from it, a lot of history from it. My wife found in one of those like 30 things you didn't know about Cinderella is when it was being adapted from its previous version into English, they got the word for the slipper wrong. And it was supposed that, so it was interpreted as a glass slipper, but that word was mistranslated when they went back and looked at it again. It was not a glass slipper. It was a slipper made of squirrel hair. Apparently was that version of it. So I thought that was funny. But Eddie, what did any of them, anything you found was like, what was the core story that is the narrative that it's been told over? Is it just the rags to riches? Is it the young girl that is left on her own and then the prince like marries her? Like did you find any? I didn't quite find like what is that central storyline that like is the fairy godmother part of it? Like what did you find? Anything?
I think the central storyline is kind of three components of the rags to riches, as you talked about, the abandoned girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is it seems that the footwear more than not is the key element in the discovery.
Yeah.
Right. The footwear kind of has to be. And I think if you were to ask any person off the street, what's the story of Cinderella? Those are probably the three beats that you would hear, the evil stepmother, mistreatment, maybe the fairy godmother because of the Disney version being so strong in everybody, but definitely glass slipper. Like you don't think of Cinderella without thinking of the glass slipper. So I think that footwear element seems to be one of the more common themes through it all. One of the elements that this Disney version doesn't seem to highlight in particular is the name and where the name comes from. And that it's cinder based off of the ash that she would have all over herself. And so it is actually a nickname, not her given name, to kind of poke fun at her and her service.
That's right. They don't really make a big deal out of in this film. Like there's plenty of other films where people are dancing around, even the live action remake of it in the 2010s, like they're running around saying Ella Cinderella, like kind of laughing and joking about her. But yeah, you're right. We don't get that in this version.
And that is original, at least to the French telling of this, is that her name comes from the fact that she would have cinder or ash all over her because of her service as a scullery maid. And
they keep making these films about Cinderella because it's obviously way past any copyright or whatever. I keep every couple years another version of Cinderella pops up. Sneakerella was one that popped up recently about a guy who's a shoe designer. Like other famous musician have used this as a way to transport into the film world. Doing something like that, Cinderella, like there's just so many different versions. Well, your
personal favorite, I know your personal favorite is a Cinderella story starring Hilary Duff. I mean, yes. You can quote that one all day long.
I do all the time. This is what we watch when we get together. This is the first thing I'm force Eddie. We're going to watch that version of it. 100%.
That and the Brandy version with Whoopi Goldberg. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But even just
pretty good. Great singing.
The crossover though, like this film, this story has spawned so many different like things that we expect. Even with Disney, we saw that in the Wish movie, like they were cribbing from a lot of Cinderella for that film and the ending of what she becomes. I don't want to spoil it for people who go on, but like her role that she gets at the very end of the film.
Don't spoil it for anybody. If you don't know, if you've not seen Disney Cinderella, pause us right now.
No, I'm talking about Wish. I'm talking about Wish.
Oh, spoil that one all day long. Who cares?
Okay, she becomes the fairy godmother in the end of it. But even like the well that she's at,
totally unearned.
There's so many. If you guys want to go back and listen to our episode where we break down Wish and ruin your hopes and dreams for that film, if you haven't already seen it, go for it.
But I have not heard anybody say they've actually liked that movie. No one.
No, but my kids actually do like it. Bless their
hearts. My kids did too, but like, that's not saying much.
That's definitely not saying much. Especially the amount of Trolls movies that we've watched over the past couple of days. But even if you think about like the like Cinderella, like a Cinderella story, March Madness every year in basketball, there's always there's a Cinderella team who goes farther than you ever thought possible. It spun off so many different, even like jokes and memes about so many different things, like finding your Prince Charming, finding your or like the dreaming and wishing about, like everything. A lot of what Disney is known for is all like packaged together in this film. So many different
certainly
moments. Yeah.
And I think what's interesting for this particular film is that it maybe more than any other, I mean, I'd have to stop and kind of think it through, but more than any other Disney movie, this is much more than the Disney movie itself that makes it so culturally ubiquitous. Does that make sense? Like, I think we wouldn't have the same affinity for Snow White or for The Little Mermaid if it wasn't for those movies.
Like, this movie helped us love the other ones even more. Like the mystique of Disney. They made this so we would love.
Well,
those
I guess
other
what
ones
I'm
too.
saying is, like, Cinderella is such a classic tale throughout history, as we've said, that it didn't need Disney's touch in order to help it rise to the cultural relevance that it already was at. But as soon as Disney touches it, it goes to the stratosphere. Like, I can't think of, I would venture to guess, like, most people, when you would say, like, name the most Disney fairy tale of films.
Yep.
I'd say the majority of people are going to go to Cinderella first. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is I think that's a tag team effort there. I think it's equal parts just the history, the power of the story that has existed for a long period of time, and then the Disney touch on it, which is you can't overstate how magical Disney made this film and just breathed, the Disney magic into this classic tale to just elevate it to the level where it is now. Like what you said there, it is so,
it's a perfect marriage.
Yeah. I mean,
they
it's just
needed
in
each
every
other.
part of our thinking, of our culture, of the zeitgeist, whatever you want to call it. I mean, this movie soars from top to bottom. Even as the movie starts, the title cards, I loved the title cards in this. It's just so classy, timeless.
And the book opening.
Now, every time we watch movies like this, my kids think that they always go, "Oh, Daddy, it's at the end. You got to start it over." I'm like, no, that's how they used to do it. The title cards used to They did it on this one.
It's even got little things like it starts with Once Upon a Time. You've got the woman who becomes queen, so she's a princess. You've got all of the different. You got the classic wicked stepmother and sister. And so I want to talk a little bit about the story and what really, to me, makes this work. It's funny to say, but it's just, if you think about it to some degree, it shouldn't work because Cinderella herself doesn't go on some hero's journey of wanting something, not getting like going into the deeps to get to what they really want and having to change themselves and in the end, and like a lot of these stories that we're used to and love. But she's just so freaking kind and loving and is in such the worst spot possible for her in this situation. and there's such vitriol for her stepmother and the daughter and the stepsisters, and that you're just like, I just want all the best things for this girl. That even though she's going to be just as kind in the end as she was in the middle as in the front, like you're just rooting for her so hard to get the thing that she wants and to get out of the situation, and just has to go through such brutal, like even getting what she wants and then having it immediately taken away the moment she finally gets with the prince and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this movie starts off so strong. The narration, it just establishes the character and the emotion of this film from the get-go. I mean, the line that for me just hooks you. And yet, through it all, Cinderella remained ever gentle and kind.
Mm-hmm.
For each dawn, she found new hope that someday her dreams of happiness would come true. Whoa. I mean, what a line. I mean, that just like, boom. Like if you're not already just like taken by this character and wanting to root for her, by that, with each dawn, she found a new hope that someday her dreams of happiness would come true. Like, it's not dreams of anything in particular. It's just, she just wants better circumstances, right? Like, she just wants a little bit of happiness. Like, who can't get behind that and root for that? Then, like, I'm already just rooting for her. And then a dream is a wish your heart makes. And she sings that song. And you're just like melted. She has me in the palm of her hand. I'm rooting for her through it all. I mean, it's the original, Desire, song that they talk about in so much musical theater. I think this is like the classic example of that just establishes what is the desire of our central character. And it's so, it's just delicious. I mean, the melody just sweeps you away. Like it is, the melody is dreamlike. It just pulls you into it. So when you have those moments of how awful her stepmother is or her stepsisters, when you see, she makes the dress and they rip it off of her, when she gets locked in the tower, and like almost like your heart just like breaks with her because it is so well established at the beginning. And I would say like the journey that you go on with Cinderella is this testing of her kindness, this how gentle, how kind is she truly? And she becomes even more gentle and kind throughout the whole film. Like that's the arc, right? Like you just see her express that to the nth degree, and finally see her dreams of happiness, a better life, of not being persecuted, actually realizing come true.
You just want all the best things. I think that I almost went through a transformation watching this film and going, I want her. Come on. I've watched this however many times. I'm like, come on, turn around. She's the stepmother's in the doorway. Don't get locked in.
I think you need to get this line tattooed on your nerd arm.
Which one?
For each dawn, she found new hope that someday her dreams of happiness would come true. Come on.
And then my wife would be like, we don't have happiness? You and I don't have happiness right now? That you're waiting for that to happen? Is that going to be with your other?
Or you could just get Cinderella tattooed down there. Come on. It's your wife's favorite.
It is such...
Get a glass slipper. Get a glass slipper tattoo down there. That'd be sweet. I could get that for my daughter. I could get, or for my daughter even. Could get her, although she's moved on to Trolls now. No, but I knew my wife loved this movie so much that that's what I got her for our wedding, was our photo of each of us together dancing like Cinderella and the prince, but had the artist put like her face on her and my face on the prince. And so we've got that in our room somewhere. I remember that, yeah.
It's over It's somewhere. I think it's somewhere. It's somewhere important, Eddie. I know. I know it. I just can't remember where it's at.
Well, I think that's a good transition to the other thing that I would say that makes this film is the art. For me, maybe more than any other Disney movie, I find this to be just simply the most beautiful. When you're talking about kind of the classic Mary Blair art direction and just the way that the colors work in this film, from that opening narration sequence with those beautiful watercolors, to just the way that the color works all throughout this film. It just tells the story at another level that makes this highlight the gentleness and the kindness of Cinderella, contrasted against the stepmother and stepsisters, but then also just makes it feel classic fairy tale, timeless. You know, it's just we now associate those things with the color palette that is laid out here in Cinderella.
And you wrote down that this was a very special animation for Walt Disney.
Yeah, I mean, he goes on later on to say, and this is documented by the Walt Disney Family Museum, that his favorite piece of animation was the dress transformation sequence.
Yeah.
So Walt Disney himself says the best animation, his favorite animation was Cinderella, in particular, that dress transformation, which also becomes kind of a hallmark of Disney, is this idea of a dress transformation kind of symbolizing the journey that the character goes on.
There's a lot of great animated sequences in this film that don't even have anything specifically to do with Cinderella herself. There's moments where it just kind of ventures off and you're with the mice for a little bit or with the cat for a little bit. Definitely the ones that give me the most anxiety is every second of Gus picking up the kernels of corn and forcibly trying to get that last one that he can't hold, and then them spilling out. It still, even however many times I've seen it, it still makes me so anxious watching him trying to pick up all of the corn and stuff, or fighting with the chickens and they're like coming after him and stuff. I don't know what it always just like, it's like, oh, come on, just let it go. Just let it go. And I think it just speaks to how well, how just realistic and you've just love these characters, whether it's in just the way that they're named or the way they go about it. Like even the dress of she gives him the shirt and the shirt doesn't fit him. And, it just you're so endeared to all of the different characters in this, or hate with a burning passion, all of the ones you're supposed to hate as well, whether it's Lucifer the cat or stepmom, stepsisters, them playing the piccolo and just being so obnoxious and off key. It's so good.
The tension, the moments where tension is built here is just masterful. I think you touched on the one sequence that I was thinking of. The other one I was thinking of is the key sequence at the very end, when Jock and Gus are trying to steal the key out of the stepmother's pocket, and then Lucifer gets involved. There's just so many almost moments that something so simple, right? It's just like a pair of mice trying to get a key, and the way the animators just the way they brought the action and the fluidity to those characters in that moment, just elevates that to something that you're on the edge of your seat. You're is it going to happen? You just feel yourself in the moment with them through it all.
So you mentioned it earlier, the music. I'm going to corner you here for a second and force you to choose your favorite song from this film. I'm going to make you do it, Eddie. I've stonewalled you. Just like blank face, like I'm telling you to choose your favorite child or something, which might be easier than which of these songs is your favorite.
Well, it's not Sing Sweet Nightingale. I can eliminate that one off the list right away. Well, I mean, I'm going to have to say, So This Is Love, because I sing it to my wife on a regular basis, or hum it to her. But I would also step out to say, like, well, Bibbidi Boppidi Boo was nominated for an Oscar. Like, it kind of,
wow,
again, has elevated to another level. But A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes, I would say is the Walt Disney anthem that it really should be the Walt Disney anthem. I know most people would say When You Wish Upon a Star. I mean, the company itself would say that and everything, of course, but I think this is a much more fitting anthem for the company, and I think it's just a better song. It is perfectly written lyrically, but then also just the melody reflects the dreamlike state so well. It's just a dreamlike melody. It just pulls you up into it. I don't know if I'm actually answering the question with that, but I'm just going to leave it there.
So, for those of you who don't know, before this film, most animated films, they didn't really care about the rights for the music. They would kind of just put the movie out there and then kind of move on, or they were licensing other people's songs. This is the first film that Walt Disney used when they launched their Walt Disney Music Company. So they actually like put out the music through their own entity, didn't go through other people or anything like that, any other recording companies. And so all this music was right as they were, perfect timing as they were launching the Walt Disney Music Company. So fun little tidbit for you.
I think I know the answer to this, but what's your favorite song?
I'm not the music connoisseur. I do not in any way, shape, or form even pretend to be one on TV or on a podcast. So I don't necessarily have a favorite song of this. I like them all. I would probably say that song as well, A Dream Your Heart Makes, because that's what we sing to our kids at night after we do our prayers.
That's what I was hinting at. I thought you guys sang this one quite regularly.
Yep.
And I think that speaks to it. I think it is, yeah, I mean, it's a, for me, perfect song.
Now it's time for your other favorite part of the show, which is to talk about the parks. How all of this fits inside of the parks. Where can we get our taste of Cinderella? And it's pretty obvious what the main one is.
Well, before we get there, I think we have to state something that is crucial. We would have nothing else Disney if it wasn't for Cinderella. Like it is quite literally Cinderella saved the Walt Disney Company. They were millions of dollars in debt, teetering on the edge of bankruptcy.
This happened though many times, Eddie. Like there were many times they were teetering on the edge. Didn't Steamboat Willie saved them, then Snow White saved them, and then the war film saved them. Like this was the most extreme, maybe.
This was the most extreme. No, I wouldn't say the most extreme because I mean later on in history there are other moments. But Disney was on the edge of bankruptcy. But I think most importantly, because they made the amount of money that they made that pulled them out, it allowed Disney to go on and pursue the other endeavors that we now know him for. Like just 5 years later, Disneyland opens.
It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's not too far removed here. So he goes from millions of dollars in debt. And at that time, that's huge. That's significant. Teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. to 5 years later, they're opening Disneyland.
Yeah.
And that switch is made possible because of the success of Cinderella, because of how incredible this film is. So I do think that is important. You are right, though. There are multiple moments throughout all of Disney's history where it's like they're on the edge. If this thing doesn't happen, then, this or whatever.
Sliding doors.
This is why, like, all the articles are floating around right now. Disney just had one of their worst years ever. Da 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 da. Is the Mouse House over? Da da da. You're like, this is Disney. Like, this. How many times has this happened? Like, Disney's almost on a every 20.
The 80s.
every
the 2000s.
Every 15 to 20 years. Yeah, every 15 to 20 years, they've got to go through this. This is, I think, a part of their creative cycle or whatever. And I think we're just kind of in one of those moments right now. So it's like, I mean, even Warren Buffett himself was like, don't ever bet against Disney. Don't sell. Hold on to Disney because of this. As soon as you think they're out, they pull out a Cinderella. Like, when they actually just let themselves tell a good story, they do it. And I think Cinderella is just if not the most perfect example of all that. So it saves them from it. And I think Cinderella gets kind of one of the best in park representation. It doesn't have a ride, but it has the castle.
The castle.
In 2 parks. So you have Walt Disney World has Cinderella's castle, and Tokyo Disneyland both have Cinderella's castle. I don't know about Tokyo, but in Walt Disney World, on the second level of the castle is Cinderella's royal table, where you can actually have dinner in the castle. And Cinderella comes around, visits your table, along with her friends, other princesses, of course. So you can kind of really do it all up.
I know we're adding to my wife's next milestone birthday. It will be doing that.
Yes. And it's worth it. It's worth it. No, I mean, all throughout the Magic Kingdom, there are beautiful nods to the film.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique.
You have Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. There's this beautiful fountain. There's just lots of different things, just kind of architecture all around. If you get married at Walt Disney World, one of the things that you can, pay for, of course, but add to the package is you can get pulled in the glass pumpkin coach there at Walt Disney World. I've seen it a couple of times, and it is, it's stunning. It's beautiful. So, and then, of course, A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, Bibbidi Boppidi Boo. These are all songs that you hear in everywhere. Any fireworks show, nighttime spectacular, you name it. Cinderella has to appear in any type of Disney montage.
I was trying to think of any other places that it is, but those are I'm actually kind of surprised that there's not an actual ride. Like go on Cinderella's adventure or something like that. But maybe because it's so present everywhere else and you've got the entire castle, maybe that's why you don't have that. I don't know. Something to think about Disney.
Yeah, give her a full ride.
We got a ride for Mr. Toad. We got Mr. Toad has his own ride. Why can't Cinderella? Just saying.
Come on. Give Cindy some love here.
I do have one gripe on the entire movie. Just wanted to throw it out there. Maybe you can talk me off the ledge here, Eddie. When it strikes midnight, all the animals get turned back into what they were supposed to be. The pumpkin becomes back into the pumpkin. Her dress, she loses the dress. Why doesn't she lose the slippers? Why don't they turn back into something?
No. This is my favorite moment of the whole movie. Are you kidding me? So there's that scene where they've her and the mice have scurried into the woods a little bit, and she lifts up and she sees that the slipper has stayed. And what does she do? She holds it near to her heart and she looks up at the star as if talking to the fairy godmother and just says, "Thank you." Oh, I'm not joking. Like, there's no other like moment where I'm like feeling more for Cinderella in this moment. And I'm just like, oh, yes, like this is who she is. Like, she's fine. She had this beautiful, wonderful moment. I think anybody else would be like, wow, why didn't I get to stay there? Why didn't I keep it?
She's super grateful.
She's very great. Exactly. And that the fairy godmother allowed her to keep the slipper as like a memory of that. She just looks up and says, "Thank you." Like, oh, I'm so thankful you said that, because it reminded me to be like, oh yes, that moment.
And
great.
And my wife is going to elbow me so hard if we were sitting next to each other, and she's like, you forgot that moment. I can't believe it. And then I'm going to get hate text message while I'm at work or something. It's going to be rough.
It's beautiful. It is. Yes. And then, the moment where the slipper shatters, right? Mm-hmm. And just that line, "But I have the other," and you're just like, just makes such a great reveal. One of the best kind of reveals ever.
Well, then it's going to be a way better reveal than what our reveal is going to be of what to rank this film. Because if it's not obvious already what it is, we're both going 3 entertaining. Is that what we're doing here? Just like it's a mildly entertaining piece. No, we're gonna have to go essential. 5 essential.
This is like one of the first ones that I feel like a 5 essential isn't sufficient enough.
Do we need to have a gummy worm rating? This isn't just a 5. This is we just haven't had that many essentials. So I'm okay putting essential, because I feel like to get to essential, you got to be, Cinderella, Snow White, there's not that many that are going to be like essential.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt this is a 5 essential. It is, we watch this on a regular basis. And like, it's one of the ones that like I will sit and actually really sit and watch with the kids.
I think back to our talking about the story. The central story of this is so good that it can even make the live action remake good somehow. It's one of the only ones that are good.
I would say for me, it is the only one that I enjoy, that I actually like.
That you can stomach.
Now, I have to say, part of that is Kenneth Branagh.
Oh yeah, you're a sucker for Kenneth Branagh.
I'm a sucker for Kenneth Branagh. Super fan. And I would put them on parallel. Like, for me, that's not so much a remake, because I don't like that idea. I just feel like Disney finally came around and they just made a live action version of the classic fairy tale, if that makes sense.
They didn't remake
They didn't remake Cinderella, because you can't. In my mind, they didn't remake Cinderella, okay? They just made a live action version of the Cinderella story. Does that make sense? Do you see how my brain works there?
Whatever you got to do to help yourself sleep at night. That's all I got to say.
Do you guys enjoy the live action?
No, like this film we do. Like, this is, I think we own this one because it was long before Disney Plus. But most of the remakes aren't that great. It's literally just a shot for shot remake, but with bad CGI animals. They got to really forget the CGI animals.
I think that's what I enjoyed about the live action Cinderella, is that they kind of made it its own. That's why in my mind it kind of sets up. It's separate. I don't see the two in the same thing. They kind of made it its own.
Well, with that, we have filled you to the brim with some essential Disney nostalgia. But now we got some late breaking Disney news for you. And might we just say we were recording this like right after Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you. Hopefully you had a great time. And hopefully this has just made your heart just so warm hearing us talk about Disney.
I also think Cinderella is the perfect New Year's movie to review at the strike of midnight.
That's right. That's
right.
All your goals and dreams can shatter at midnight, just like everybody's New Year's resolutions. That's funny. But anyways, now we've got you filled up on that. Now we're gonna give you a dose of Disney news. And Eddie, you were banging down the door to talk about the series. You're shattered that I haven't watched it yet. You're distraught I haven't watched it yet, but you wanted to jive on here and here's your soapbox, Eddie. Tell us about Percy Jackson, the Percy Jackson series we didn't know that we needed.
That we didn't know when we needed. I enjoyed it. I watched the first 2 episodes already. These are dropping, I think, Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights. That's how they've adjusted
how close is it in level to like National Treasure, like something like that? The other remake we didn't need.
No, this is far more than that. I think one in particular, what's his name? The guy who actually wrote the books. He is heavily Rick Riordan. I think that's how you say his last name. He's heavily involved in this. So I think the books came out after we graduated high school and somehow just kind of missed them. But everybody who's ever read them are like, they're awesome. They're so much fun. They're amazing. And they all hated the movies that came out before. And so they were super excited to see him have a more active role in the series. This is really good. I really enjoy this. This is nothing, I wouldn't say it's like earth shattering, like drop what you're doing. You have to go watch this. But it's good. Like it's just fun, good TV. They're having some good, guest stars come in and be a part of all of this. The kids that they've got as the actors don't suck. They're actually good.
Hey, it's possible.
Which is huge. And it came out with like a 13.5 million views, a viewership with its premiere, which puts it on par with kind of the Mandalorian Ahsoka stuff that's come out lately, which I think is much better than what they were expecting. And I don't know if you're seeing it, it's getting a lot of buzz online. There's a lot of people going, hey, this is really good. This is a lot of fun. And in particular, like if you're looking for kind of a serialized TV show to watch with your kids, maybe a little bit older kids, like I wouldn't have my kids watch this, but I think you could. Like I think this is good kind of just family entertainment, at least so far.
Gonna add that to the watch list. We're gonna cue this thing up.
Well, episode 3 is out, and I think this is the episode that Lin-Manuel Miranda makes his appearance. So,
whoa, okay. Well,
like I said, they're getting some pretty good guest stars out there.
I wasn't gonna be able to get my wife to watch this, but now that you said that, that's just she's all in.
There you go.
So we talked about the new year earlier. And speaking of New Year, we should have let off with this, but I wanted you to have your moment to talk about Percy Jackson.
Thank you.
But I have a very specific memory when I got to college and I was in my electronic media intro class that they were talking about all these new things that I'd never heard of. And I had never heard of this thing called like copyright expiration. And I remember them talking about the Mickey Mouse law, that like all of these things that go into the public domain, they, after 50 years, 75 years or whatever, then they're free game. You can do whatever you want with them, but they kept moving the date back. They kept moving the date back for Mickey Mouse. And Eddie, we've gotten to the date. Finally, I never thought this day would come. 2024 is when Mickey Mouse becomes public domain. You and I can make our own Disney merch, and we're not going to get, we can paint it on our kids' walls, and no lawyer is going to come after us. Tell the viewers about this, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, after 95 years of a story being released, the copyright expires, and so you can take that.
That's how we got 30. That's how we got 300 versions of Cinderella.
Right. It's also why just a few years ago we got, like, what was it called, like Killer Winnie the Pooh or something like that.
Last year, yeah, we got Killer Winnie the Pooh.
Like Winnie the Pooh is a horror film because Winnie the Pooh is now over 95 years old, and so it entered into the public domain, which means you can use it, which is interesting for Disney because Disney has fought hard to protect the copyright on Mickey Mouse in particular.
We will protect our copyright.
I mean, there's nasty stories of them like taking out daycares and stuff that painted Mickey Mouse on the side of their wall, different things like that. So, I mean, this is really interesting. What people don't, this is new tested territory because not really has something quite to the level of Mickey Mouse ever entered into the public domain, right? Never. And so what nobody knows and what we're going to see in 2024 and onwards, I would say is just going to be a tidal wave of litigation. Because it's Steamboat Willie that goes into public domain, not Mickey Mouse in general. So if you try and do like, I've got like marching band Mickey Mouse, he doesn't go into public domain. It's Steamboat Willie Mickey, right? So these are the types of distinctions that Disney's going to try and play. But he also functions as a trademark, right? Because he is the logo for the Walt Disney Company.
This can get so messy. This can get so
it's just
going
to get so messy. So I think what Disney decided was they can no longer fight this with legislation. They worked super hard with the Mickey Mouse Protection Act that they have gone, you know what? We'll just let this happen and we will sick our team of lawyers on this and just put it through so much litigation that eventually people will go, yeah, we're not going to mess with Mickey Mouse because of, and they'll just argue it to the nth degree. And if you have any doubts on whether or not the lawyers of the Walt Disney Company can accomplish this, don't forget they are the ones who established contracts with communist China to get a theme park built and retain ownership, not majority ownership, but it's, like 49% ownership of Shanghai Disneyland. So if you have any doubts, like, litigation over the copyright trademark of Mickey Mouse has to be easy peasy compared to what they faced with getting a theme park built in communist China. That's all I'm going to say there. So I think we're going to have some hilarious stories over the next year. I'm just waiting for it. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting to see them actually come out and acknowledge it recently in the last couple of weeks. And basically say, bring it on, guys. Like we know that ever since Mickey's first appearance in the 1928 short film Steamboat Willie, people have associated the character with Disney stories, experiences, and authentic products. That will not change when the copyright in the Steamboat Willie film expires. More modern versions of Mickey will remain unaffected by the expiration of Steamboat Willie. Will continue to play a leading role as a global ambassador. Continue to protect our rights in the more modern versions of Mickey Mouse and other works that remain subject to copyright. They have said, yep, we can't. Yep, the law is the law, and we will enforce it. And they've already they've given us all the breadcrumbs. Like, we might be able to do something with some version of Steamboat Willie, but even that, you're going to be treading on dark waters, because they're like, this is a symbol of who we are. We're not going to let just anybody besmirch it.
Oh, I think this will come down to like pencil strokes. The ear doesn't fit the geometric shape of Steamboat Willie, so then it is, I think they will go to the utmost.
Are you gonna have to shelve your Mickey horror film that you've been running fan voting and fan support for? You have to put that on the back burner.
In many ways, I'm gonna scoff at how ridiculous they get in all of it, but I will be the one going, yeah, defend it. Like, I don't want killer Mickey Mouse horror film. I do want it to stay. It is. You're talking to the guy who for Christmas got the certified the certified biography, the history of Mickey Mouse. This thing is like super thick, by the way. It's massive. Yeah, I love Mickey Mouse. So I'm like, I don't want this character to have all this weird stuff happen. I'm like, yeah. And Disney's made the right moves. Steamboat Willie has been the logo of Disney animation for 15 plus years now. It's at the top of any Disney animated film. That was not by mistake, folks. They weren't just like being nostalgic and like, oh shucks, wouldn't it be nice if we had Steamboat Willie? No, they did that on purpose because they knew this was coming. They've been planning for quite some time. So it's going to be interesting. I think we're going to get a lot of fun stories.
Well, speaking of fun story, you have a fun story for us to end this podcast with that I know nothing about, and I'm all ears.
This is all over social media. I cannot be the only one who has heard about this. So they're, I don't even know where they're from. We'll just say it's a family in Ohio, because, who likes Ohio? It would be a Buckeye who did this, right? So this family, I feel for them. I really do. They are planning their multi-generational family vacation to Walt Disney World. Decide they're going to do the money-saving hack that we do every time we go to Disney. We buy all Disney gift cards, consolidate them on the Disney gift card website. So we get at least 5% off using our Target debit red card. And do you like the emphasis on debit? Then so we get 5% off, right? So this is what this family does. But the poor grandma, goes out and buys Disney Plus gift cards.
No.
$10,000 worth of Disney Plus gift cards.
Now, oh my God.
You can use a Disney gift card at the parks, cruise line, and on Disney Plus. You can use a Disney gift card on Disney Plus if you would like. A Disney Plus gift card you can only use on Disney Plus.
Eddie.
And to make matters even worse, because I just looked all this up because I was trying to figure out how to save a little bit of money on Disney Plus. You cannot use a Disney Plus gift card to pay for the annual subscription to Disney Plus. Only the monthly. The monthly.
I
should have done this math ahead of time. So let me just do this really quick. So let's just round up.
This is insane.
That would take them 59 and a half years of Disney Plus to use all of that $10,000.
Oh.
But they got 5% off.
This is so tragic.
And so far, like at the last reading before we hopped on, I grabbed a couple of different articles and stuff. I don't think any resolution has happened. I mean, I would hope Disney catches wind of this and just says, let's do you a solid. Like, come on, like the money is in our coffers already. Let's,
This is insane. I hope that Disney comes around and helps
What a
them.
great, yes, like this is such an easy marketing moment for them, right? Of just going, let's make this right.
Oh, hold up,
Send
Eddie.
them on a Disney.
People Magazine, less than 24 hours after her first TikTok about the situation was posted, Andy was able to find a resolution. Disney reached out to the family and they were able to turn $10,000 of Disney streaming gift cards into 10,000 of Disney Parks gift cards. Yes. Now the family is actually looking forward to going on the trip. They did get it resolved, but they did get it resolved. That's so the first time I did this,
I would back throw up.
October a couple years ago when we went to Disneyland. We did it for the first time using your hack, and I was so nervous. So nervous of doing it wrong, doing the wrong thing, losing even $50 or whatever.
Yep.
Man, $10,000. That is.
No, I mean the gift card hack is a good one if you play it right. Like Costco just had 10% off.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I mean that's huge. That's a lot of money. Off of gift cards. So I as soon as I read this story, I had a pit in my stomach. I'm glad to hear that there was resolution. I would hope though, like somebody in Disney marketing would be like, let's give these let's get them on Good Morning America. Give them if nothing else, give the family a free, 3 months of Disney Plus, something, like, come on, there's gotta be, turn this into some easy marketing here. But yeah, $10,000 of Disney Plus gift cards. Folks, double check. They're bright blue. If they're Disney Plus, they say Disney Plus bright blue. The other ones will just say Disney, and on the back, it'll tell you Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Cruise Line. Yeah, all of that fun stuff. So check your gift cards.
Check your gift cards, guys. Well, before we go, Eddie, man, I hope you and your family have a good week and had a good Christmas.
I hope so too. We had a rough day. We decided to go to the mall. And
on Christmas Day,
we were today. We went today. So, everything's open here on Christmas Day because they celebrate at midnight on Christmas Eve. So that's when you open up all your presents and everything. So a lot of things are just normal on actual Christmas Day. It's kind of weird and a little eerie. We did not leave the house on Christmas Day, but today, the day after Christmas, we decided to go to the mall, which was a lot of fun. We're just doing some window shopping, going around. Had a few things we needed to do there. And we were at a store and looking at they had some Christmas stuff that were like 75% off. We looked down in the stroller and our daughter, Eileen, there's something like she's sitting weird in the stroller. And we're like, Eileen, what's behind you? Like, what's behind your back or whatever? And she pulls out this toy thing in a box that she had stolen from a previous store that we were in.
Whoa.
And it's like a stupid mystery toy thing where it's but it's a cat that could have a different outfit on or whatever. It's the most stupid thing ever. And the box is just destroyed. It's obvious she had it behind her back and she's trying to open it without showing her whatever. So it's just torn and ripped. So I have to go back to the store with her, explain to them this, and I have her apologize for stealing. We're trying to make this a lesson. And of course I have to buy it. $15. This thing's $15.
That's the
I
worst.
was so mad. I was so angry, but we're learning through it. Hopefully my daughter's learning to not steal. Thou shalt not steal. And then we are also learning, you check the stroller before you walk out of a store and make sure that the little sticky hands hasn't taken anything. So
I would contemplate for at least a half second. Do we just make sure she knows it's stealing and then chuck it in just for a hot second? You're like, why do I have to teach her now how to like this thing? Can't we just fast forward through that? But
it couldn't have been like a more pointless thing that I had to drop $15 on. Like, so
15 is a lot. That hurts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I want to spend $15 on.
Right.
That I don't, because I'm like, that's a lot of money. I'm not going to put $15 towards a burger and fries at Five Guys. Then it's like, oh, this stupid cat.
Well, and I think that was it. Like, you 5-10 range, you're kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe. And as soon as it gets up to 15, it's just like, oh, no. So that's what we are dealing with. But there you go, folks. There is your weekly dose of Disney nostalgia.
Be sure to subscribe to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast, wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts. And also give us a look on YouTube as well. Caught up. All the videos should be on there now for all of our latest episodes. But yeah, go check us out on YouTube as well if you want to watch our smiling faces or my new shirt that I got for Christmas.
And while you are there, please like and leave a positive review, or on podcast, a 5-star review, and share it with your best friend.
You can also check us out at honeywemade.com, where you can see all of our nostalgic reviews of Disney movies.
Be sure to tune in next week as we review Treasure Island.
Thank you for listening, and remember, I can't order you to stop dreaming.